All right, if at the end of part 2 of the podcast you're like, whoa, it sounds like he's done, but he never configured the switch, you would be correct. I did forget to configure the VLANs in the switch. But you're like, whoa, but it still worked. Yeah, it still worked because everything's in VLAN 1. So in this case, configuring the switch wasn't necessary, but I wanted us to configure the switches for fun and for our memory sake. So get in the switch, enable, conf T, go into the interface you want to configure. We're going to do 01, switch port access, VLAN 200. So now it created the VLAN for us since it did not exist. It created it. So now this PC is in VLAN 200. Everything else is in VLAN 1. So in this configuration, it's not going to work. We'll wait till this turns green and I will demonstrate it not working. While we're waiting for that to turn green, I wanted to point out at the end of the last podcast, it didn't work when I pinged across. If you look up here, I went ahead and made the changes I need to make it work, and it did ping across to the other side. So I pinged from PC3, which is right here, over to one of these PCs. PC right there, I think, is one I pinged to, and it worked. So just so you know, it is possible. One thing I like to point out, lots of times when you're pinging across a couple routers, the first ping fails. So if you go to ping and it's not working, your first instinct might be like, oh, it's not working. Let me hit Control C and go figure out why it's not working. Well, that was in a different VLAN. So normally after the first time you ping, it works okay. So in that case, it worked okay because I had already pinged across the first time. But just be patient with this tool. It does not respond immediately. Lots of times pings do not work the very first time. So don't freak out and kill the ping. Let it try. So this PC has turned green now, so it's in a different VLAN from the router. So now I won't be able to ping the router anymore. So now I'm trying to ping the router. It's actually not going to work because the PC is in VLAN 200 and the router is in VLAN 1. So what we need to do is go ahead into the switch and configure the other interfaces we're using for VLAN 200. And we use 24 200. So now, once these guys all turn green, we should be good. I'll go ahead and do the same thing over here. I said use VLAN 200. What the? I hate it when that happens. I said use VLAN 200. Stop it. There's some key sequence you can do to make that stop. It's something like Control Shift 6 or something, but hey, that worked. Control Shift 6. Wow, surprised I remember that. Anyway, enable. Same thing we did on the other side. 200. 200. So now all these guys are in a VLAN 200. So you may be thinking, or maybe you're not, I don't know, you should be. We put these PCs in VLAN 200, and then we put these PCs in VLAN 200. Well, doesn't that cause us a problem that they're all in the same VLAN? Or the converse of that, does that save us any issues? Should they be able to communicate now without the router since they're in the same VLAN? Well, in order for PCs to communicate, they have to be in the same VLAN and the same subnet. So these guys are in different subnets. So even if they were in the same VLAN, they're in different subnets, so they still need a router. The other thing is this VLAN 200 and this VLAN 200 are not connected at layer 2, meaning there is no way for PCs on this switch to send frames directly to PCs on this switch. It must go through the router. So in order for these to be the same VLAN 200, these switches would need to be connected together. So if we connected these switches together, would they be able to ping each other? Well, no, not with the IP addresses they have because they are in different subnets. But if we were to connect these switches together, put in another PC with an IP address in the same network as this PC, and try to ping across, and yeah, that would work once we connect it together, because they would be the same VLAN 200 since they have layer 2 connectivity. In this case, with no layer 2 connectivity between the two LANs, they are different VLAN 200s. So, is that important? Not really. Should you use VLAN 200 in two different places in your network if they're not the same VLAN? Probably not. That's probably a recipe for confusion. But learning through confusion, I think that's going to be my new motto. Learning through confusion. We like to do confusing things so we can talk about them and learn from it. So that was the part I forgot to configure, and then I wanted to prove to you that it was working. Did I ping across after getting everything working? So yeah, so there I can ping across the other side now. Everything's in the VLANs, everything's working. So there you go.